Thank you very much for being here. It's a real pleasure and honor for us to be here this year, especially presenting you our brand new company name, which is IDEMIA, which is the result of the merge of two leading companies in digital security. In one hand, Oberture Technologies, and in the other hand, Morpho. We have created this leading company of the trusted identities. All the identities, the physical identities and the digital identities, because I would say word of today is exactly what we have to deliver to our customers. And today, at this step, today we are, I would say, company developing with four major mega trends, which is driving our product development and our sales approach. First is the growth of connected objects. We are here today because of connected car. We heard many times about billions of devices connected. I don't know if it will be millions, billion, trillions, but it's going more and more devices connected. Second is the growth of exchange. Exchange in terms of physical exchange, commuting, but also about digital exchange, peer-to-peer exchange. Third is about the trust. How can you trust any single data you're going to share around the ecosystem? And fourth is the consumerization of the industry. All the innovations to be accepted by the end user should be easy to use. And that's something, anything we have to put in the middle of our discussion, which is the customer, the consumer, and the way he's going to accept to use the services we are proposing to him. We're going to talk to you today exactly about that. We are today about, and the last 2 days about services, technology, but let's put back, I would say, the consumer, the end user in the middle of our discussion with simple questions, two simple questions: who they are, and how do we create the moment where we meet a service provider, which could be the car maker, and this end user. I would say everybody talk about that we move, our industry, the automotive industry, is moving from a car ownership ecosystem into a market where you deliver solutions, services. And as soon as you start delivering services, you have to pay attention to two major items. In one hand, connectivity. We have seen the presentation from Dutch Telecom. We're going to see after on stage Orange people. They will talk about connectivity. We also enable connectivity with our technology, with the Siemens UICC, but that will not be the focus of today. The second one is, of course, the security, because the most solutions you deployed, the most secure is important. We are talking about mission-critical, safety-dependent solutions. And as soon as we have those elements in place, of course, we can talk about all the services: infotainment, internet in the car, music, audio streaming. But never forget about how you're going to enable those services. And this is why we highly trust that biometrics is the only way for the end user to access on a secured and trusted way the services. This is why we're going to talk to you about digital identity, and I would say even more, the trusted digital identity, and about how we create this identity and how we manage it. In IDEMIA today, just as an example, we have created more than 3 billion identities worldwide. So that's definitely a market. We are really aware that we have the competencies about the global scale of this kind of challenge, and exactly about how we do the creation between the physical identity and this digital identity. What is part of this trusted identity? Let's call the augmented identity. First, by definition, is your ID documents. All of the human beings have an ID document, and the first way to enroll you is to submit an ID document. And your role in this ecosystem is to get from the end user this ID document on a digital way, and to verify the validity of this document, and collect the data about this ID document: your name, address, and these kind of elements. And then we use also the biometrics to ensure that the user submitting that document is the one which is physically on the document also, matching picture and ID document. Second one is driving license. Of course, we are in the car industry. For some services, we need to ensure that the user to whom we're going to grant the service has the ability, has the right to drive. For example, today, why this is a market also on which we are investing, we are delivering, for example, more than 80% of the driving license in the US. So again, we know about this document. We know how to check that this is a valid document. Third, the biometrics, because you are also your biometrics. And here we talk about fingerprint, we talk about iris recognition, we talk about facial recognition. Today, the biometrics challenge is how can you create a fluid authentication mechanism. As an example, today we are deploying solutions in the airports. You might have already used our technology in the airports. Just by using biometrics, you can just give access to the passenger without creating really huge queues in the airports. Fourth is banking information, of course. You have to collect the banking data of the user in order to afterwards charge him for the services, because at the end of the day, we are not talking about a service for free. We are monetizing services in this industry. And this is how we enable our digital payment platform to ensure this part. Then infotainment preferences. You are not only who you are, I would say, from the regulatory point of view, you are also your preferences, your music styles, your music gender, your artist, your Spotify account. This is part of your augmented identity. And six is your car preference settings, rear seat position, mirror position. All this set together, this is what is creating your augmented identity that we are creating today. One important element we should never forget is, as we are talking about digital services, user will not accept that you have to go to a physical shop to enroll yourself to the services. Today, we are addressing any passenger of a vehicle, not only the driver, any passenger. We are addressing any passenger of the vehicle over the vehicle lifetime. So we should optimize the moments where we could put into relations a potential customer and the service provider, the car OEM. And that being said, we need to create this trusted identity. So this is why we really rely on the smartphone as the device which you have always on your pocket, we have always with you, to create this trusted identity. Second is authentication. We are talking about critical services, mission critical services. We are talking about high-value solutions, the car itself. So it's really important to have a very strong authentication mechanism. We are not talking about PIN code. We are talking about biometrics here, because biometrics is the only solution who can prove that you are you without anybody else can take your identity on that part. As soon as you have these steps, of course, then we can deliver services with, by definition, the two important steps: security in one hand and convenience in the other hand. Here, I would just like to show with you what is the customer journey that we have imagined, but we are also deploying with some customers around this digital identity. Can you activate? What we have seen here, the user enrolling itself just by touching his passport with his phone. So the phone was able to collect his ID data from the NFC chip, which is on the smartphone. Once he has created this identity, we ask him to do a selfie check, just to ensure that the user who is trying to enroll himself is corresponding to the ID document that he's proposing at the moment. Once we have this created identity, we grant him the access. And in that case, we are on a rental car use case. So then we try to remove the physical key and directly drive him into the vehicle he has just booked. So then we download the digital key in his smartphone. But once again, as it's a very high-value service, we want to be sure that the person which is presenting the phone to the car is the one who enrolled. And this is why you have seen this gentleman doing a selfie check before he's allowed to access the vehicle. Once the selfie check is positive, we unblock the vehicle with the digital key stored on his smartphone. Inside the vehicle, we are using biometrics. We are using biometrics for two things. First is to start the engine. Again, we have the template of this person, so with the facial recognition, we can just let the car go. And the second part is about the payment. We authorize the payment of this parking with the biometrics. So access to the vehicle, start engine, in-vehicle driver monitoring with this biometrics, but also on the customer journey, driving monitoring system. How can you use these biometrics to provide, for example, anti-drowsiness technology to track where the driver is seeing to ensure that he's driving, is looking to the street. We talk about usage-based insurance. I'm not an expert in that market, but I would say one of the important elements is how can we also verify that the user is correctly behaving, not only with the data, but also with the biometrics. We would like to highlight with you a specific services that we are deploying, but I think it's really in the middle of this discussion about this augmented identity and trusted identity, which is the keyless car entry, which is for us, I would say, the exact challenge about how we can remove the physical key that you usually use to open your car and use your smartphone instead of it to open your car. This will open huge services. For example, the personal car maker. Today, I would say the only device requiring you to go back home if you forget it is your smartphone. Credit card, you don't go back home. Your ID, you don't go back home. Your smartphone is the only device making you go back home if you forget it. So having the key on your smartphone, I would say, will be a user benefit. Second, the shared key. How can you easily push a digital key to your belongings, to your friends, from wherever you are to wherever they are, in a pure digital way? Car sharing, I will not go to the car sharing market that has been presented by many participants today and yesterday, but at the end of the day, physical key is a barrier for this industry. Physical key is a limitation. Today we are using some NFC pass, which is also another limitation. In our view, the real keyless should be that you should push a digital key to the end user consumer device to enable this access. The carpooling, on the same way. You share the vehicle in a company with all the employees. You should not have a dedicated person able to receive the keys and give the key to the next employee who's going to use the vehicle. The car rental, this is exactly the use case we have demonstrated to you. One of the only reasons why you are still going to a desk when you rent a car is for this physical key. And in-car delivery, that's a very simple Amazon use case. You have seen that Amazon has launched this door key where tomorrow they will be able to enter your house to give you what you have ordered. There's another way to do that, which is in fact granting them an access of your truck, of your car, sorry, and then the delivery man can just put in your car, which is in front of your office, what you have just ordered. How it works and what are the key principles? Today we use our platform, IDEMIA platform, to securely download this key into the consumer device, wherever it's a smartphone or a wearable. Then this digital key is securely stored into this device, either with an embedded secure element, such as an IDEMIA Pearl, or in a secure software solution, like our AirPass technology. Once we have this digital key stored on your consumer device, then using Bluetooth or using NFC, the device can directly open the vehicle with the direct communication. We are not relying on cellular connectivity for the process of opening, for obvious reasons that your car should not be necessarily under a coverage area, like in the parking or in the middle of a desert. That's very challenging market by DNA. Really interesting, but really challenging. The first one, I would say, it will be security end-to-end. I would say security is by definition mandatory. What I mean is, if somebody is able to steal your key, he can steal your car. So the value behind that is quite high. Nothing to compare with, for example, mobile payment, which is a very different, I would say, approach towards this subject. We have to store any single key and protect the subjects end-to-end. Then we say end-to-end because this keyless is a complete circle between the key generated by the OEM, the consumer device, the protocol, and even the system in the vehicle itself. All these loops should be secured in end-to-end. Second one is worldwide deployment. Nobody is thinking about deploying keyless for Germany only. When you are a car maker, you think about deploying systems worldwide. And when you deploy it worldwide, you have to think about all the local specificities in terms of devices, in terms of regulation, in terms of deployment, ID documents. This is part of the deployment. Third, friendly user experience. Keyless solution works only if it's easy to use. If you have to do 20 steps, press 20 buttons to activate the key, that will not work. So convenience is also a must. Last but not least, market reach. This point is exactly about when we talk about keyless and consumer device, we need to ensure to our customers how we reach the top 5 of those consumer devices, considering all their own specificities, considering their own technologies. And saying that, I would say this goes hand-to-hand with friendly user experience. This is the only way to have the user acceptance when we deploy this kind of technology. How it works on a daily life, as we have seen, the ID document is just presented to a smartphone, sent into our platform, we check the identity, and then we provide a trusted identity to the car OEM, who in return is able then to create a digital key associated to that user. And then the key, or the 2 different keys, are provided and sent to the consumer device in one hand and to the car in the other hand, stored in secure element in the phone, stored in another secure element into the car, and then creating that direct communication trusted. The last part we want to share with you, we talk about identity, we talk about a digital service. I would say for us it's also important to think about payment, not only about how you're going to charge the end user the service you want to deploy, but what should be the role, in our view, of the car, of the vehicle, in the overall payment user experience. Still asking the question, why should I open my car window to pay at the airport the parking? Why should I use very specific technologies for car tooling? Today, I would say companies like the smartphone OEMs has proven that combining a device with a payment capability which is certified and delivering a better user experience is a plus for the end user and puts back, in our view, the car itself in the middle of the payment value chain. We really believe that car we enable with payment will be able to address multiple use cases, such as gas station, which is an obvious one, such as toll, such as parking. More globally, in your vehicle, you are paying more than 5 or 7 times per day. And in those use cases, car itself is not a player. Car itself is not providing any value to the end user. What we want to say, putting back the car in this ecosystem will give value to the car itself, to the car maker. How it works, that would be the only technical slides. The car is going to the gas station. The first step, because that was an important step I forgot to mention, payment will work also with the car only if you don't have to modify the entire ecosystem. The gas station will not change because of the car. The parking will not change because of the car capabilities. We have to think about the already existing systems in place. Today, the gas stations have cameras, so you can take and read the license plate of the vehicle which is approaching the gas station. Then the gas station itself can request to our platform if this vehicle is eligible to the car payment capabilities. Once it's eligible to these car payment capabilities, we do the payment request. The payment request is sent by the gas station to our backend server. And then we do an important step. We want to verify the transaction. And then we use the biometrics in the car because we want to, you can have multiple bank accounts. You can have multiple users associated to a license plate to a vehicle. So using that part, you identify which particular person, with payment capabilities are associated to that payment, and then you authorize the payment. That's the important step to validate the overview and the complete payment chain. As a conclusion, and share with you, we really think that today, putting back the consumer, the end user in the middle of our discussion, it raises three big questions. First is, who is the customer? We should always think about that the car makers potentially will never physically see their customer. So it's a digital relationship we have to put in place. We should think about how we can deliver services to any single passenger in the vehicle, not only the driver, and over the full vehicle lifetime. Second, we should be able to ensure that we are delivering the service to the right person. And that's where biometrics is playing a key role. Biometrics on the smartphone, but biometrics inside the vehicle also. And third, we need to be able to have the capability to charge the end user and putting back the vehicle into the payment value chain. Thank you very much.